This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 436. Dr. Marina Kostina on Ravenous Living.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
Hey, have you ever had that moment where you start to have a conversation with somebody and then you suddenly realize, oh, we're going there? That's not the conversation that I was expecting. Well, actually, at the time of the release of this episode, it's coming out actually on the Thursday that most everybody is then traveling into Las Vegas and arriving at the HypnoThoughts Live conference. It's at that conference last year, 2023, that I strike up a conversation with somebody who I've kind of, talked to in passing at times online and kind of talked to in passing at different in-person hypnosis events. And, holy crap, we then jumped into a dialogue that I was not expecting. And I'm going to kind of let this episode just stand on its own. And as a bit of a foreshadowing, it's going to begin the typical way that the conversations often play out here on the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, where we kind of begin with the origin story, what's the approach, and it almost just kind of sneaks in at about the halfway mark of this conversation as to, well, the life event that Dr. Kostina recently went through and a true experience of figurative and literal resurrection that came about from it. If that doesn't have you listening all the way through to the end of this episode, I don't know what will. And I'll also point out one other nuance of this conversation. It would be the fact that we kind of hit on this theme that I'll tell you has never popped up in all of my memories of doing this podcast now at this point for about 10 years running. And it's this dialogue that I don't hear enough of in the hypnosis profession, that here's the person, let's say, who has a fear. And, very often our dialogue is that of helping the person to resolve the fear. And that's a bit of a pivot that I made in recent years that I decided that I have zero interest in anymore. Well, Marina in the conversation says she's stubborn. I would say that I'm stubborn as well, but also appropriately picky and selective, which would be that I don't want to work with that client who just wants to feel okay with the situation. And this really becomes this big turning point in this conversation of how do we help to facilitate that change where now the client truly becomes world-class, above and beyond whatever that problem used to seem to be. This is one you're going to want to listen to all the way through. I guarantee you there's going to be a moment where you go, wait, did I just hear that? If you don't know Dr. Kostina's story, but listen through to the end, listen to the entire thing at least twice. This is an incredible conversation, and I already predicted it where I reached out to go, I want you to be the episode where, about 1,000 of our friends are going to be hanging out with us in Las Vegas at HypnoThoughts Live. I wanted this episode to be the one that drops the day that everybody is likely arriving before the conference kicks off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And a bit of playfulness. If you're listening to this in time, we traditionally drop the new episodes at 5 a.m. New York City time, which means if you happen to be in Las Vegas, it's 2 a.m. that the episode releases. And at 9 a.m., the day of the release, Marina is teaching her class. Chances are you might be a little too late for that or not in Las Vegas, Nevada. So either way, you can find the details of this episode over at worksmarthypnosis.com/436. And while you're there, I'm going to give you a very simple page to go check out. now.worksmarthypnosis.com. This is something that I put out a little while ago. And yes, I'm about to make a sales offer to you, but everybody relax your sphincters. This thing is $27. So seriously, relax. What it is a program of mine that I call the Velvet Rope Strategy. It solves the problem of no-show clients. It solves the problem of unsophisticated clients. It solves the problem of problem clients. And again, I sell this for $27. It's a complete business action plan from start to finish. And check out some of the stories on the page, because this little thing has become this catalyst for hypnotic businesses all around the world. So head over there, now.worksmarthypnosis.com, to check out the Velvet Rope Strategy. And here we go. I've been foreshadowing like crazy. This is an oh wow conversation. This is session number 436. Dr. Marina Kostina on Ravenous Living.
I honestly think that most people who go into hypnosis, they possess three qualities. First, we have our own pain, right? And the second, we try to find solutions. And third, I think we're all impatient people because we don't want to find these solutions for 10 years. You know what I mean? And go to therapy for 10 years. Nothing against therapy, but it's just not for my personality. So I was looking for solutions to get my patterns that I noticed in my life that were not working for me. How can I switch them? And I actually started with energy work, and then that path led me to hypnosis. Mhm.
What about the energy work is what drew your attention?
Again, my own pain. I had a very difficult situation. I all my life I actually had this kind of like weird intuition, very strong. When I was a little girl, I predicted death in the family, so it was very traumatic to be honest with you because I would dream of snakes. And next day somebody died, and it was like over and over and over. When I was a little girl, we lost a lot of family members because we had a very close family, very big family. And I kind of started pushing away that little talent because that was not a very pleasant experience. But all my life, when I grew up with like academics, the medical doctors and, professors, I kind of under the table did all of this kind of, I don't know, like palm reading and tarot cards and things like that. It was very interesting. And then when I grew up and went through academia and all of my PhD and research, um, my dissertation actually was on online interactions. And I noticed in my research that the energy travels across the space. And there was a scientific proof to that. I started reading more and more and more, and I found that, whoa, there's actually research out there. And I started digging more into that and started combining my intuition with my um, research. And I kind of led me to energy work and energy healing because I was in pain. My relationship never worked. I had a terrible divorce, which left me homeless and heartbroken. And that is when everything, I lost my job. My friends moved away from Chicago. I had nowhere to stay. It was like everything crushed. And that created space for me to actually do what was meant to do, and without really worrying what society is going to say, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So then I'm curious to hear your take on this and just kind of put it into a fill in a blank on this. When we're talking about, let's say, the energy work and specifically, let's look at the application of online, as that's what the research that you were doing was around. How would you kind of fill in the blanks on this one that most people think that energy work requires blank, but actually what really is there is blank or some variation of that? There's some sort of contrast inside of what you just said that I'd love to hear the details on.
Of course, yes. If I understand you correctly, most people, for me, and what I hear is that they think that if you do energy work, you need to have some special gift. And I think that I do have like a very strong intuition, but I also believe that it's a very trainable thing because we're all humans. And, if you are in tune with your emotions, if you are in tune with the nature around you, with your pets, with the animal kingdom, that's a very natural thing, really. Like, the energy is what the whole world is made up, right? And now science already proved thousands of times that that's what we are, and all of the even solid matter is just energy, right? And so energy can change, and the change can happen much faster than when we approach it with other kind of modalities. So I think that um, everybody can benefit from that, and everybody can kind of manipulate it. It's not a good word, but in a good sense, right? The energy field around themselves, either make it negative or positive, and create amazing change.
Yeah, and the favorite category of mine is what I've nicknamed to be the hyphenate, which is that combination of multiple modalities. So, like, where in this journey did the hypnosis appear inside of it?
So I was looking for energy, like I really studied energy all over the world, in Siberia and everything. And I understood that there was something else missing. Like, I love to approach things with different tools because there's not one tool that fits every problem, right? And I am very curious. I'm very intuitive, but I also love the mind, and try to understand how the heck the mind works, because our mind is really something else, right? And I found Ines Simpson. She
Yeah.
does, her, right?
Oh, yeah.
She's amazing. She does the SP protocol, which combined energy work, her background, and the whole idea, concept of super conscious mind. Because traditional hypnosis deals with conscious and subconscious mind, but she really the entire protocol revolves around superconscious mind, which is what energy is. This is the source, or whatever you want to call. And I got really, really interested, and so I trained a lot with Ines. I actually am one of her trainees, so I train people using that protocol now. And I got so fascinated with that, and I just, with the mind, with our subconscious mind. And I studied with all of, Mike Mandel, of course, Freddie Jacquin. I have, I think, six trainings, diplomas. But even before Ines, what happened is that, unfortunately, I had, not myself, but a person that I really cared about had addiction, alcohol addiction. And it ruined our relationship, and it broke my heart in pieces. There's nothing I could do. I felt so helpless. And I was in Russia once, and my friend told me that there is an incredible method. It's called Dovzhenka method. It was created by a Soviet scientist, psychiatrist, actually. And I tried to learn that, but somehow it's like a secret society. I could not, I could not get any. There are no classes available. No classes available. Okay, so what I did, I found. Unfortunately, Dovzhenka is already, passed away, but I found his best student, and I made an appointment
Yep.
as if I have an addiction. And when I came, and he's like, "What's your problem?" I'm like, "You got to teach me this." And he's like, "What? Get out of here." And I said, "No, I'm not going to leave until you teach me, because I know this is the calling. This is my life purpose. This is the pain that I lived with so much, and I keep attracting that. And I just need to learn how to help people."
I'm laughing
And
there because it's a joke that Michael DeShalit has made
uh-huh.
several times over the years, specifically around Ken Guzzo, which is, well, Ken charges like $3,600 for his training, but apparently he charges $600 for the actual stop smoking session. I think I'm just going to like do the session with him twice and I'll figure it out from there. Which of course is cracking a joke here, but
Yes, 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 yes.
but
That's
I love
funny.
that angle of let me just find the source and I'm going to ask a question as respectfully as I possibly can. Yet it's where a lot of different things, as we get into it, we go, oh, it's kind of like this. Oh, it's kind of like that. As a great example, and let me give the appropriate hype here before I even ask the question or give the statement here, that Inez Simpson, when I was living in Virginia and I was hosting guest training events because I had two small children at home, so the stuff that I wanted to learn, I would just bring those people to the area, host a training, and I got to attend it. And, we also got to fill the room with 35 other people. Inez was the first one that I brought to the area twice.
Oh, wow.
So we go back. And, but at the same time, we can look at it and go, okay, so it's profoundly deep hypnosis, it's ideomotor response. And we can pull out the nuts and bolts of like, what are the pieces? And of course, here's the elements that Inez added on top of that truly make it a unique process. This modality that you were wanting to learn, if you can kind of like just pull out some of the, as I said, the nuts and bolts as to what it entails. Like, can you kind of describe what that process basically is?
You mean Dovzhenka, the Dovzhenka
Yes.
method, the addiction? It's very interesting. And I use it as a part of my own framework that now I developed over the years for addiction. And it is a very, very effective way to take out cravings. I now believe that it's not enough for addiction because you know what? I can, take out cravings for alcohol, and then you're gonna go and start, I don't know, doing drugs or whatever, right? Because
Let
there's
me just
more
write down the
stuff.
notes. Dr. Kostina says I need to go off and do drug. Okay, go on. You're sharing.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but it's a very effective way, and it is based on like the old type of hypnosis, the mesmerism. I don't use it like that. I noticed that it actually works differently. It works the same way if I don't stare at my client's eyes for 40 minutes, because I also have terrible memory. Like, you need to memorize the script, and looking at your client's eyes, no, like, get it right. For us modern hypnotists, this is like, what? Uh, you got to stare at their eyes for 40 minutes because the session is about 40 minutes, and talk to them like with this script that you memorized. I get too nervous. I don't remember. What if I forget? I'm not a script person, right? But I get them into hypnosis the way, the usual traditional way we do, in the induction and deepener. And then they're with their eyes closed. And I use this script as a kind of like, my own version of that. And it still works.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the traditional one, and let's not forget, it is a Russian, so it is really, really scary. Okay. So the point is to scare you so much that you're like, heck no, I'm not gonna drink ever again. So that is kind of like the premise of that. But honestly, it works. But it does have two prerequisites. First, you cannot drink for like 7 days before the session. So those who are really committed, they went. I even had clients that locked themselves in a detox centers in order to do that. And secondly, of course, we know that it needs to be your desire.
Yeah.
If your mama or your husband or your boyfriend comes to me and says, please take her, no. I unfortunately saw horrible, heartbreaking stories. I can relate to them because I've been there, but I can tell you, and that's a truth, and I'm always very transparent. I can help tons of people, but sometimes I cannot help people that are right next to me because they're not ready.
Could I give you the most indirect and probably unfortunate business promotional plug ever right now?
Sure.
Okay, because this episode is releasing on officially, what's my calendar here real quick? This episode is releasing on Thursday, July 18th, which actually is the day that you're doing your training of your addiction reprogramming certification at HypnoThoughts. This episode will release at 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which for those of you in Vegas listening to this at 2 a.m, you have 7 hours to sign up for. I wanted to have you as the episode that came out the day before HypnoThoughts officially began. But of course, the show notes for this week's episode are over at WorkSmartHypnosis/436, where we'll put links to any other future opportunities, of course. But again, I'm just saying it. If you get one person who signs up in the 7-hour window as the episode drops, we're splitting that one 50-50, okay?
Oh, you are amazing.
Just they wake up 7 a.m. in Vegas like, I got 2 hours to figure this out. I'm in.
Yes.
Timing.
Thank you so much.
Timing.
Yes.
One of the themes that I wanted to dive into, and actually I'm on your website right now, which again, we'll put links to everything over at worksmarthypnosis.com/436, is this theme of, the website is Ravenous Life Center. and this theme of ravenous for life. And I love the tagline of feed your light in the abyss of trauma, which I may be cheating here and breaking my one rule of we don't do a pre-interview, but we had a quick chat before we started recording that you opened up your office basically right after the world shut down with COVID. Do I have the timing on that
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I have been in business for 11 years now, but I was renting out, and then I finally decided, yes. And it's kind of interesting. This is my pattern I'm working on in life. Every time I make a step forward, there is like a huge challenge, right? So, I decided to have my own center so I can have group hypnosis. I can have lots of events, and I do dancing and all of that. And I opened this 1st of March, and then 18th, I think, of March,
Yep.
the whole world shut down. And I'm like, are you serious? But it was
See,
the
I thought I
most
was bad doing May of 2019.
no. Yes. So the most amazing business wise. I mean, of course, it was a very difficult year for everybody, right? But this center only knows pain. And it's kind of ironic because, it has COVID. Then in Chicago, we had really big riots and buildings right next to, like around my center, were broken into, and my center was just standing there. It's like, I believe that is the energy,
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then I had a near death skydiving accident, which, we might talk about, and going in and out. Surgeries so far. I had 18. You can imagine downtime and everything. And rent doesn't stop, as you know, right? We still need to pay our rent for the center and somehow run the business. And it's amazing how, even though seemingly I have all of these obstacles, but there is something else that is guiding me. And I believe because I finally had enough uh, courage to stand up and really live what I came here to do. Like, this is my life purpose,
And
you know?
let's go into that here. I mean, opening the business and then roughly 2 weeks later the world shuts down. Here's all of the riots that were happening around Chicago, and then of course that started to have ripple effects to many other cities, not just in the USA but also around the world, as we kind of had all these cultural moments all aligning at the same time. And when was the what? And for those that might have heard it and wait, what was that? When was the skydiving accident?
Skydiving accident was 19th of June 2022. It was Father's Day. hmm
Yeah,
2 years ago.
and just kind of walk us through what that experience was.
Well, I was in a very difficult situation because of, I'm Russian, and there was this Russian, still Russian-Ukrainian war. And I had all of these terrible feelings inside. We all were depressed. It was Father's Day. I missed my father. I was really not in my resourceful state. And I usually never act upon any, like, I don't do anything when I'm like this. I usually stay home and just kind of chill and live through this. But that day, it's like as if I was hypnotized, and my friend called me and said, let's go skydiving. And I told him 3 times no. I said, I don't have enough money. He said, I'll pay for it. I don't have enough time. It's okay. I'll wait for you. And then when I came there was a little girl who was an instructor, like tinier than me, and I'm tiny. And I'm like, hey, I want a big dude. What's going on? What is this? And then my friend is like, oh, come on, girls' power. And that girls' power, got my ego going and completely shut down my sense of intuition that I told you I have a very strong. And I just
I hear
went.
you
And
on the intuition. I would also just add in there that the idea of jumping out of a plane generally frowned
y-
upon, but go on.
yeah. Yeah. Well, now that I am working through this, I realized that my adrenaline seeking activities, they were cover up for maybe some loneliness, maybe some difficult moments in my life, and I feel that in order not to feel that, I needed something stronger, and adrenaline would give me that. So, in a way, I'm also a junkie, you know what I mean? Like most of us, we have our own addiction, and this was a wake up call for me because I was jumping everywhere, in Peru, in the Death Valley, in Altai, everywhere, So that was the universe way to tell me it's time to actually deal with deeper problems that you didn't identify yet. It's
Yeah.
interesting. We're in this profession. We do this all day long. We work so much on ourselves, and there is always something until we die. There is always something to work on.
Yeah. And was it that the parachute didn't deploy?
The parachute, it was a wind,
Hmm.
like a burst of wind out of nowhere. And I think the girl was not very experienced, and she didn't know how to do it. So I fell down and I lost consciousness. I don't remember anything. And she fell on top of me. And when I saw the footage of the rescue team, I was a dead piece of meat. Like I was broken into 52 pieces. My face was gone. There was no face. And I was bleeding completely everywhere. And I was just lifeless. And they resuscitated me. And only because it was a skydiving place, they had a helicopter. That's the only reason why
Oh
they
wow.
made it to the hospital. If it were like a car crash, forget about it. And they made it under 10 minutes. So I didn't suffer any brain damage because, percentage wise, I realized that it's only 20% who actually live after resuscitation, and even less without brain damage.
Without significant damage. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of I look at it like also a spiritual awakening, but also there are some helpers around me that guide me through
Yeah.
the
And
life. But mhm,
this is the story that you first shared with me almost about this week, last year. And, I wanted to have you on to capture the story that, let's say there you are, it's the week afterwards. And I imagine there's a window of time where, there was the extreme medical care. There was the, where just to say it simply, you weren't yourself the first week or so,
mhm.
I'm sure. But like, what do you remember of like being back into the first moment of being conscious and aware of everything?
Terror, because I realized that I had, first of all, my experience of, I was unconscious for 3 days. They didn't know if I was going to make it. And I traveled places that were not very pleasant. And it was very difficult experience. I actually write about it in my book, the 52 pieces that I wrote. And then when I got back to consciousness and I realized that I had an accident, and then I saw myself, I really honestly don't know how. Like, this experience again, I went through addiction, not myself, but watching somebody through addiction. And I felt that that was my life story. And then this is another one. And that's why I specialize in trauma and addiction, because I can tell you I'm an expert in that. This experience, I suffered so much pain on a physical level and emotional. I was paralyzed. They thought that I was not going to walk without aid. I uh, taught yoga and Zumba in 3 months after that.
Yeah, the yoga I can follow. The Zumba, I'm really impressed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was bald. I was deaf. I was blind. I, my jaw was wired for total 8 months. Like everything that physically you can imagine, I've experienced. And then psychologically, me, the bubbly, ravenous for life, you know how ironic it is. I went through anxiety, claustrophobia, the deep depression, still have those episodes, suicidal, really very close, several times, and something would happen to really get me out of it. And to be honest with you, during all of this, two things that helped me is energy work and hypnosis. And now I can tell you, if before I believed in it, now I am it. You know what I mean? I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Just look at my journey and understand that I didn't take any antidepressants. I barely took pain medication because I didn't want to get hooked, and my stomach doesn't have really good digestion. So I really am surviving this horror of experience for 2 years, completely sober. No alcohol, no
Amazing.
drugs, no cigarettes, no antidepressants. And what keeps me healing faster and staying sane, well, as much sane as you can tell, um, it's energy work and hypnosis. And these are modalities that I've always used.
How would you say this has informed the work that you do with others differently?
I honestly think that now I just walk into the room and people understand that this is something that they can do too. And I think my life mission now, it is to help people in their abyss of trauma and addiction, but also to show them in a way that magic exists. Like if you see my first photos, and that's why I'm so stubborn, I'm going to get not only okay, I always was an attractive woman. I am gonna get to the point where I like myself. Mm, Sorry, the dog.
The dog was
So
agreeing. The dog was agreeing. It's okay.
the dog is agreeing.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some storms here, so the dog is crazy. But where I like myself because I want to show people that even out of completely impossible situation, and when you look at my first pictures, there was no face.
Yeah.
Jason, there was no face. You saw it,
I
right? I
did. Yeah.
showed you. Um, that if I can stand and, you know, like myself and have a full life and not be in any way restricted, but only more powerful, happier, more beautiful. That is my goal because it's not just the ego, it's just I want to show humanity that we should not be limiting ourselves with our mind, with the limited beliefs of the society. If I listen to all of my doctors with all due respect, I would be definitely suffering, still.
I'm laughing because
So,
there's a moment where a friend of mine goes, he was hearing about a project that I was about to build, and he goes, I don't know. Well, actually, no. You tend to set your mind towards something, and you make the decision to do it. You pull it off. So I'm looking forward to seeing as you roll this out. No, wait. Hang on. No, Jason, you can't do that. You'll never pull that off. I don't know which motivator you need.
yeah,
So sometimes,
exactly.
sometimes we do need that voice to go, towards. Um, you hit on something there that is a topic that I don't think has ever popped up here. But it's been a big part of like the work that I've done for years, which is that I don't want to work with that person who just wants to go from challenge to I'm okay with it. Like here's the main category I work with of public speaking. And it's where the audience that really aligns with what I do well and what I can simply just get excited about along with them is not just the, oh, I'm terrified and now I can get through it. No. I want them to be, let's take this thing that used to be the challenge and now I want to become world class at this. And that's part of the story that I'm hearing here. What's if you had to kind of define the avatar, the sort of makeup of the type of client that you work best with, what would that be?
I work with a lot of stubborn clients like me.
Yeah.
All my life, I was constantly criticized that I'm this stubborn Russian woman. And honestly, the two qualities that are getting me out of this is my stubbornness and my creativity.
Yeah.
And I think that those people who come to me, they always know that they're not just a piece of meat, this, meat suit. I attract people that really understand that there is something bigger to them, whatever that is, God, universe, spirit. Jason, I'm so sorry. Can you hear my dog? Because there's something going on outside and
It's
she's
light enough in the
barking.
background. I'm not concerned. It's all good. We're on a
Okay,
roll.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about this. And they are cutting grass. So we are, I work with those people who are spiritual or believe in something bigger. So energy work, I don't need to like really explain to them. And there are people who are determined to um, to get out of their darkness, who are done, and they might not yet know how to, but they have strong desire. Something inside of them tells them that they deserve a better life than this is, whatever it is. And that's why I always say that whoever crosses, and I do online and offline, so it's like a metaphorical threshold,
Yeah, yeah.
either digital or physical threshold of my center. They are already heroes. They are already in that top 20% that, majority of the people, what, they scroll to Facebook, they look at, your car. Oh, of course you get it because you're lucky. Oh, you got this body because you're lucky. And they don't do anything about their situation. But those who come to you, these are people who already made that huge step, and they know that it's possible, at least, right?
Yeah, it's that ownership that in some way they had something to do with how they got into that situation, knowingly or unknowingly. But also it's that ownership that, okay, if I got myself into this, I'm the one who can get myself out of it too.
Absolutely. And it's the most humbling experience for them and for me. Like, I cannot tell you how many nights I stood on my knees and dropped all of my ego, and looking constantly at myself, what else I need to find, what else is there. And I think that that is what I'm very transparent in my book and in my work about my own dark side and my own demons, and I think that's what other people need to hear, because often, hypnotherapists or energy workers, they call themselves healers, or I'm going to hypnotize you. You and I know that we don't hypnotize anybody, right?
Mm.
That we are channels, we help them, but it's a collaborative experience.
Yeah. Tell you what, where can people find out more about the work you do online? How can they check you out?
They can go into my website, ravenousLifeCenter.com is the best, because it has all information to all of my social media and even my phone number. The only thing I ask is please text, because of the volume. I don't answer the phone and it's a lot of energy, but I always answer text. And you can text me at any time. I know it's maybe not very professional for somebody, but I want my clients to text me even if they need in the middle of the night. If I want to sleep, I'll just turn it off and check it out. But I just want to be able to be that person who you can text. And there's all social media and all of the contacts there.
Yeah. And amazing to have you on here and to hear this story. And even better, it's the fact there was a quote that I heard one time, and when I heard it, changed my life. And then even better, I found out that I heard the quote wrong. And as I then was corrected, it got better, which was that at first I thought the quote was just the simple, don't compare your beginning to someone else's end. And instead, the quote actually was, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And that's the part of this conversation that I wasn't ready for, which I love, which was that this is a journey that's still going on. And even as all of the healing is complete, it's this ongoing quest of getting better and better and, not necessarily accepting that, oh, it's just okay now. No, how do we keep leveling that up? How do we continuously, outperform where we were before, which is just amazing.
Absolutely. And as a, hypnotherapist and energy architect, not healer, architect, I constantly reinvent the ways I can help people. And so, for instance, my addiction framework came from all of this. What else is there in the darkness that I need to address within my clients? And I think that helps, that sense of understanding where they come from helps me keep looking for tools or inventing the tools.
Jason Linett here once again. And as always, thank you so much for interacting with our incredible guest. You can find the details of how to connect with Marina over at worksmarthypnosis.com/436. And while you're there, also check out now.wsh now.worksmarthypnosis.com. Easy way to remember that. Well, I should check this out right now at worksmarthypnosis.com. So again, now.worksmarthypnosis.com. This is, from start to finish, a business action plan of mine called the Velvet Rope Strategy. This has streamlined hypnotic businesses around the world. Check out the Velvet Rope Strategy now at now.worksmarthypnosis.com.